What's up, beautiful world? This is TNA, Top Notch Audio, and welcome to another episode of rSlashIdontworkherelady. Our first story will be, I'm Not a Tour Guide, followed by Never Wear Scrubs to an ER, and then, Sure, I'll help you, but I'll have to charge. And finally, let's shake things up. I work here, lady. If this is your first time listening, remember to hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner. If this is not your first time, welcome back. Enjoy the stories of rSlashIdontworkherelady. And this next rSlashIdontworkherelady story is posted by u/ALXWAK. I'm not a tour guide. Usual disclaimer, on phone, English is not my first language. About 11 years ago, my wife and I got engaged. My MIL decided to gift us with an expenses-covered trip to Paris as an engagement gift. So, we found ourselves spending a week in Paris, enjoying the city. Also, we met an old friend. My friend, nicknamed Indy, was doing a postgraduate degree in Paris. We met a couple of nights and we scheduled to visit the Louvre together. Next day, we met outside of the Louvre. Along with Indy was his GF. She was a history of arts major, slightly important for later, from Norway. Indy was an archaeology postgrad. He has, since his preteen years, an obsession with ancient history, important for the story. Also relevant to story, my wife likes to read a lot of history books. We start our tour in the Louvre from the Roman section with Indy taking the role of explaining what we were seeing. Now, because of his GF, we all speak English. We pass the Roman section, followed by the Greek, stopping on the Aphrodite of Milos. In that section, Indy really took off with his explaining, not only with Aphrodite, but with the muses as well. Statues of them in the same section. Then up the stairs to take pics of Nike and onwards to the Renaissance section. On the way towards the next section, we stopped in a room that had models of some of the wonders of the ancient world. One of them was a model of the temple of Zeus in Olympia and a giant statue of Zeus made from ivory and gold. Indy stops to explain this to his GF, and my wife decides to chip in about cheating in original Olympic Games, started a light-hearted banter. They're talking in our native language, and I'm trying to translate to Indy's GF. And then it happened. Me is me, I is Indy, SM is Stress Mom, AC1 and AC2, Amazed Child 1 and 2 respectively. SM, excuse me, what the guide is talking about? I turn around and see a woman in her 30s and two boys. The older around 8 or 9 years old and the younger around 6 or 7 years old. Everything on her screams tourist. She wears a sundress, has a small backpack with supplies for the children, we found out later, a guide to the Louvre book, and a look of stress on her face. My wife and I have that look occasionally now. It's common on parents. Me. They're talking about cheating on the ancient Olympics. AC1. Wow, they used to cheat back then? The younger one is glued to the model. AC2. Who's that? He asked, pointing at the statue. That caught Indy's attention. That's Zeus, the leader of the Greek gods. AC2. Wow. AC1. Where's Mona Lisa? Down this corridor, you can't miss it. AC1. Cool, can you tell us the story for that? An awkward pause from everyone. SM, a bit embarrassed. You're not a tour guide, are you? No madam, I'm not. A sigh came out SM. She grabbed her book tighter. SM, I'm sorry. You were speaking with such authority and the book is so unhelpful. We kind of thought, it's all right. I hope I helped. In fact, we were going to visit the next section if you want to follow. But I won't do the talking. Hannah, his GF, is more apt in this period than I. Hannah waved, smiling. AC1, can we go with them, Mom, please? She looked to each of us, trying to decide. SM, if it's not too much trouble. No trouble at all, both Indy and Hannah replied. AC1 and 2, yay! SM, but you have to be quiet and listen to the nice people. AC1 and 2, yes, Mom. They followed us the rest of the day, the Louvre, with either Indy or Hannah answering the kids' questions. It was lovely to see the look of amazement on their faces as we walked through the museum. The mother told us her husband was invited in a week-long convention in Paris from his company and brought them along for vacations. She insisted to buy us lunch, which we politely declined. We settled for coffee in one of the small cafes outside of the Louvre. Her husband joined us later on. The kids asked a million questions about the exhibits during our coffee, but their true delight was they discovered Hannah was from a country that had Vikings. All in all, a nice stroll in the Louvre. And this next r/IDontWorkHereLady story is posted by u/JustAnotherPersonITW. Never wear scrubs to an ER. This happened a few years ago when my late father's health was poor, and one day I left work early to meet my mom at the emergency room, USA, with my dad when he needed to be admitted. It's worth noting that I am a veterinary technician, which is basically an animal nurse, and I wear scrubs as my work uniform. I realized my grave mistake when I strolled purposely through the side entrance into the crowded waiting room and was immediately mobbed by a crowd of people who were demanding to be seen, complaining about their wait time, or more disturbingly needed immediate medical attention but were left to wait. Apparently they leave people sitting there bleeding in the waiting room, WTF. Before I could even get out the sentence that I wasn't a nurse, one particularly pushy woman shoved an elderly woman in a wheelchair, her mom I guess, at me and said she needed help using the bathroom and she wasn't going to do my job for me, and just walked off. Apparently we were standing by the bathroom because another woman walked out of it and handed me her urine sample. I told her I wasn't a nurse, but she didn't seem to hear me. The poor woman in the wheelchair did, and she started laughing. She apologized, but she was very sweet and seemed really frail and weak, so I offered to help her anyway. I helped with my elderly father a lot, so I knew the drill. She basically just needed assistance getting in and out of the chair without falling. Eventually, I made my way to the desk and found an actual nurse to hand off my patient to and the cup of urine. After that, I kept a change of clothes in the car. I learned my lesson. And this next r/IDontWorkHereLady story is posted by u/GoingWireless. Sure, I'll help you, but I'll have to charge. For context, I used to work at a partner company of the phone retailer with the red checkmark. I quit for reasons I won't go into. I was going into the store to return the key. As I was leaving, a lady grabbed my arm tightly. Like I said, this is mid-COVID. I immediately recognized her as a regular who's always having issues with her phone, or rather doesn't have a brain cell to learn how to use it. I yanked my arm away, grumbling a bit, preparing for the abuse I knew came with helping her. "Aren't you going to help me?" she shrieked, her voice shrill, nails on a chalkboard. "Help you? Why would I?" I scoffed. "Because you work here," she snapped. "No, I don't. I used to, but I quit last week." "I don't care. You're here. Help me." I sighed and thought for a second, then got a devilish smirk. "Fine, but since I don't work here, I'll have to charge my freelance fees." She got a look on her face as if I just told her grass was always pink. "Freelance fees?" "Yep, when I'm not on the clock, I charge $40 per hour, minimum of 2 hours. I knew she wouldn't go for it. As expected, she started screaming and berating me. I didn't have time for her BS, so I just walked out the door and continued my day, with a bit of a smile on my face. And this next r/IDontWorkHereLady story is posted by u/LKJNAELHJberg. Let's shake things up. I work here, lady. I'm out of work because of COVID, so occasionally I drive my husband to and from work because he has a long commute, and at least once in a while I can do the driving for him. Now, he works at a warehouse type shopping center. Between 9 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, they have a senior shopping. His shift started at 9:45. I had some shopping to do, so we walked in together. I went to grab a cart and go to the back of the line of regular shoppers, waiting for the senior hour to finish up and be let in. My husband kisses my cheek and walks into the building. Now, we're in our 30s, definitely not close to the 55 plus. The lady at the front of the line starts shrieking that man was just allowed in to shop and didn't wait in line like the rest of us. I stopped mid-cart grab and watched it unfold. My husband turns around and politely explains while holding up his name badge, "Sorry ma'am, I work here. I'm just showing up for my shift is all. I'm not cutting the line, I promise." She loses it. She demands to speak to a manager since people are being allowed to cut in line in front of her, and how she's been waiting for over an hour to get in. The doors didn't even open until 9 a.m. and there are signs everywhere explaining that 9 to 10 is senior hour, and it has been this way for months. My husband continues to try to calm the lady down, explaining that he's an employee, his shift starts in 3 minutes, he's not cutting in line, he's clocking in for his shift. The person watching the door keeps explaining the same. Finally, a manager comes to the front. Karen is now blue in the face from yelling and screaming. It's time for my husband to clock in, and he can't get past the front door because Karen keeps screaming. The manager explains that my husband is indeed there to work and get everything ready for the incoming flood of patrons. Karen was having none of it. My husband finally decides that in order to just end the situation, he'd use the back entrance. At the complete opposite side of the giant building, manager and husband share a very knowing look. Manager apologizes to Karen, who now looks incredibly righteous. Manager says he'll have a talk to the employee at the front door. There's some whispering. My husband's coworker smiles a little. It's now 10 a.m. and the doors are supposed to be open to everyone. Karen starts looking very, very impatient as the manager, standing at the door, tells her he can't let the general public in until there are 2 people at the door. We wait and wait and wait and wait. And about 5 minutes after 10, my husband walks up from inside the building to the door and calls Karen on into the building, apologizing for being late as he was being held up. The last from the people in line behind her was just precious. She went from blue in the face screaming to red and embarrassed. The best I work here lady ever. Thought you would all enjoy a little spin on the I Don't Work Here lady. Oh man, those were 4 great stories. To hear the best stories of the week, click on the video in the top left-hand corner. To hear more Reddit stories all related to what you just heard, click on the video in the top right-hand corner. And if you have not already done so, click on the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Once again, this is TNA, Top Notch Audio. Thank you for listening and have yourself a great day.